it amiss, or people who haven't voted for us before. Forget Scottish Labour. They have abandoned the Union, and Jeremy Corbyn has abandoned you. Instead, lend us your vote. Join with us, because this is important. Together, let's make Nicola listen for once, and together we can move on as a country. Now, of course, as Scottish Labour's manifesto launched last week, a certain person was absent. It appears Jeremy Corbyn was making his next batch of damson jam that day. Well, the leader of this party is made of different stuff. The Conservative and Unionist Party will never give up on Scotland. A Conservative Prime Minister of the United Kingdom will always stand up for Scotland's place in the Union. So as always, our UK leader is here at our Scottish Manifesto launch. Scottish Conservatives are in the fight, and we are fighting to win. And after this short video, I know you will give the Prime Minister the welcome to Scotland that he deserves. Thank you.
At the next election, the choice for voters in Scotland is this. Do you want Scotland to go forward or back to another divisive referendum on independence? Nicola Sturgeon is demanding another referendum. And if Jeremy Corbyn gets into power after an election, who knows what will happen? He could do just what Nicola Sturgeon wants, handing her an independence referendum on a plate. The Scottish Conservatives are now the main opposition to the SNP in Scotland. In every part of the country, we're the ones holding the SNP to account. And here's what we think. Scotland has had enough of constitutional division. It's all Nicola Sturgeon talks about, meaning less time to sort out our schools, improve the NHS, and get our economy back on track. So instead of being focused on what makes Scotland stronger, we've been focused on what keeps us apart. We will oppose a second independence referendum. No ifs, no buts. We want to get Brexit done. That way, we can then all get back to what you want sorted most. An education system we can be proud of again. Safer streets, so you and your family can feel secure in your home. Scotland powering ahead, so there's decent jobs for young people. Elect Scotland's Conservative MPs across Scotland, and that's their promise.
Not a referendum, Nicola. How about doing something all of Scotland wants for a change?
Scotland can't afford to keep banging on about independence for another decade. We can succeed and prosper now.
With us, it's simple. No more referendums. It's time that we all got back to the things that really matter.
There's only one party you can trust to stop another referendum. Only one party you can trust to stand up to Nicola Sturgeon. Only one party that wants Scotland to move on, not go back to more division. That's the Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party.
Good morning everybody, thank you very much. Good morning, thank you. Thank you everybody, thank you very much everybody. Thank you, let's get going, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Jackson, and thank you everybody for coming this morning. It's absolutely fantastic to be here. And I just want to say, first of all, that, you know, I know how much you're campaigning, and I know that you don't necessarily want to be doing it right now in November with a December poll. And I agree. I didn't want an election in the run-up to Christmas, and absolutely no Prime Minister wants an election any time in the run-up to Christmas. But we had no choice, my friends. We had absolutely no choice, because we've got a Parliament at Westminster that is absolutely blocking our country's ability to go forward. And I think whether you voted leave or remain, the people of this country want us to get Brexit done and go forward. And for several reasons. First of all, because we're Democrats and we respect the will of the people, but also because the uncertainty and the dither and the delay
are increasingly bad for the UK economy, bad for investment, bad for Scotland, and the beauty of the Conservative position, the beauty of the government's position, is that we have a deal that is ready to go and ready to take advantage of all the freedoms that Brexit will give us, from fisheries, taking back control of our fisheries, to free ports, to control of our own immigration system. And of course, there's only one obstacle to doing all that, getting on with it, and that is the risk of a Corbyn-Sturgeon coalition next year. And that would, of course, block Brexit yet again and impose chaos on our country. And Mr. Corbyn has said that he wants to do a new deal and then to have a second referendum on that deal, though he won't tell us what his own position would be. For the first time in history that someone has stood to be Prime Minister without revealing to the electorate how he would vote on the biggest issue affecting this country. He used to be indecisive, but now he's not so sure. He's the prime ditherer. But it's worse than that, because as everybody knows, and as Jackson was just saying, the only way he could conceivably form a government is if he agrees to Nicola Sturgeon's demands to have a second referendum on Scotland. And do you think he's really going to be in a position to refuse? Do you think he's tough enough to refuse Nicola Sturgeon? Do you think he's tough enough to stand up to Nicola Sturgeon? It didn't look like it to me last night. If Nicola puts the hard word on him, do we want another referendum on Scotland? That's why this manifesto is so aptly named. We don't want another referendum on Scotland. We don't. And we rule it out because why? Because we don't want to destroy the most successful political partnership of the last 300 years. And we look at what comes to Scotland. Look at the investment. £9 billion coming to Scotland as a result of membership of the Union. 60% of Scotland's trade with the rest of the UK. I've many times been to Scotland and looked and seen for myself the fantastic high-skilled jobs that are directly created in Scotland as a result of membership of the Union. Making frigates at Govan, more to come, by the way, down and not far from here at Rosyth. Think about the climate change summit that's going to happen next year, which is going to be a fantastic thing for our whole country, chance for the whole of the UK to set the pace in cutting CO2, tackling climate change. That summit is coming where? To Glasgow, because Scotland is part of the Union. And it'll be a fantastic event, and that summit will be a bigger event for Scotland than the Commonwealth Games. It will bring huge numbers of jobs and business. And this manifesto contains much more from Scottish Conservatives that will promote Scotland within the Union. A new sector deal for the oil and gas industry to encourage the use of low-carbon technology, cutting duty on whisky to promote one of this country's great exports that already supports 42,000 jobs, supporting Scottish agriculture with an extra £200 million secured by Scottish Conservatives, guaranteeing that we will leave the common fisheries policy by the end of next year so that Scottish fishing communities can finally end the unfair quota system and take advantage of this country's spectacular marine wealth and become an independent coastal state. And above all, it will mean that Scotland will get £3.1 billion more increased funding under the Barnett formula. And never forget, how do we do that? Never forget that the most important difference between this one nation Conservative government and the Corbyn-Sturgeon coalition is that we will run a strong economy. And today in this manifesto, we pledge 50,000 more nurses and 50 million more GP appointments, and we make this guarantee to the British people that we will tackle crime by putting 20,000 more police officers on our streets with tougher sentencing, and we will sort out our immigration system with an Australian-style points-based system. And every week we will invest millions more in science, in schools, apprenticeships, and infrastructure. But at the same time, do it in such a way as to control our debt, and we will reach net zero by 2050 with clean energy solutions. And we can do all these things. We can do all these things without raising our income tax, our VAT, or national insurance contributions. And this is a transformative manifesto in which we can unite and level up this whole United Kingdom with better infrastructure, with better education, and with high technology. And I want, as a One Nation Conservative, to unleash the potential of the whole country, because genius and talent and ability are all distributed evenly throughout the UK, but opportunity is not. And we can tackle that unfairness and unleash that potential and make those investments precisely because we also support a dynamic market economy, which is what Scottish Conservatives also do. And that's why we're cutting taxes for small businesses. And when people get up at the crack of dawn to prepare their family business, or when people take out a mortgage to fund a new venture, or when they risk everything on a new product or try to find a new market, we don't sneer at them, we cheer for them. And that is the choice. And that is the choice. That is the choice at this election, between sensible One Nation conservatism and out-and-out socialism that would take a sledgehammer to the economy and put up taxes for ordinary people. And so I say to people around the United Kingdom, particularly here in Scotland, you can come with us and have a government that backs our armed forces, invests, as I say, in armed services here in Scotland, and don't forget that we're cutting the taxes for people in the armed services here in Scotland. Come with us, that believes in our armed services as a force for good around the world, which, believe me, they are. Or you can go with the Corbyn-Sturgeon coalition. And Corbyn has said he wants to scrap our armed services, and he can't think of circumstances in which we would use them. You can come with us, support our police, put more police on the streets, support them in the fight against knife crime, or go with the Corbyn-Sturgeon coalition, where Diane Abbott has said that the use of stop and search is inappropriate and oppressive. We want higher wages. We're lifting up the living wage to the highest ever level, the biggest increase. Corbynomics, McDonaldomics. I mean, this guy was, don't forget, McDonald was sacked by Ken Livingstone for being too left-wing. These guys are seriously out there, and this manifesto that they produce is way to the left of anything that had been predicted. It would mean higher taxes for absolutely everyone. We stand up as One Nation Conservatives for the values of this country at home and abroad, don't we? We support it, and it was quite incredible for me to see that when Russia blatantly ordered the Salisbury poisonings, Corbyn actually seemed to give the benefit of the doubt to Moscow. We will, to get back to an earlier point, we will get Brexit done. We got that deal, oven ready to go. Just add water. Get it through by January. We will end the acrimony and the chaos. They want to rip up our deal, the Corbyn-Sturgeon coalition, and negotiate a new one. But we don't even know of a single Labour MP, let alone a single SNP MP, who would actually support the deal that Corbyn proposes to negotiate. Have you met one? Do you know anybody who believes or who supports or who understands the Corbyn-Sturgeon proposed new deal? Does anybody understand it? In fact, we don't know if anybody believes in it apart from Mr. Corbyn. The only thing is, not even he believes in it. He said he's going to be neutral. Can you imagine the negotiations in Brussels? Act 1, Scene 1, enter Corbyn. Barnier centre stage. Bonjour, Monsieur Corbyn. Comment allez-vous? Tell us about this interesting new deal you want to negotiate. Quoi? Quoi? Bien, jamais. What do you mean you don't really want it? What do you mean you don't really believe in it, Mr. Corbyn? Mais qui? Quoi? Qui y croit? Who believes in it? Who believes in your deal? Not Monsieur MacDonald? Not Monsieur Starmer? Not Madame Abbott? Then who? And there's absolutely no answer, because there's not a single member of the shadow cabinet that actually seems to support his proposed New Deal. No, not a member of the Labour Party that seems to support it. Certainly no members of the Conservative Party, let alone members of the SNP. It is absolutely farcical that the nation's time, that our economy should be put at risk by these proceedings next year. It would be farcical if the consequences weren't so disastrous for the UK. The waste of time, the jobs not created, the investment in this country forestalled, the opportunities lost as a result of Corbyn's dither and delay. We can't have it. And above all, of course, looming over the Corbyn-Sturgeon coalition is the threat that they jointly pose to our precious, fantastic union with India F2. Because whatever deal Corbyn were to secure with the EU, the SNP would, of course, campaign to get back into the EU with their crazy policies. I think confirmed last night, as I understood it, to Andrew Neil. Did I get that right? Confirmed to rejoin the EU, to join the Euro, to put up a border at Berwick, hand back control of, obey every jot and tittle of the panoply of EU legislation, and hand back control of the fantastic marine wealth of Scotland to Brussels, just at the moment that we have finally taken back control and are able to turbocharge, or if that's the word I want, some joke there about turbo. But anyway, just at the moment when Scottish Conservatives have come up with a plan to invest not just in fishing and in the coastal communities, but of course in the processing that makes that fishing viable. And that is what we will do. That is the opportunity that will be foregone. So I want you to imagine what this country would be like if we can give all that madness a miss. If we can get a working majority Conservative government in this country, which is what we want, and is why Scottish Conservatives are so essential. I want you to look forward to a Britain where the streets are safer, the air is cleaner. In 10 years' time, scientists are starting to reap the rewards from the doubling of funding for research, artificial intelligence, gigafactory for batteries, and of course, not forgetting the spaceport that is under construction, or is it under construction or is it almost complete? On its way. The spaceport that is on its way in Scotland, it certainly will be complete in 10 years' time. That will send British satellites into the heavens and drive one of our most exciting and lucrative new industries. A whole United Kingdom where we are uniting and levelling up, and where better infrastructure is allowing rural communities to keep in touch, to start businesses in far-flung areas, allowing us to build thousands of superb new homes with better transport links on brownfield sites, giving young people the chance of home ownership, which all surveys show is still what people in this country want. A United Kingdom where the landscape is made more beautiful by the planting of millions of trees that also, of course, help us to deal with climate change. And in 10 years' time, I confidently prophesy this, that people in our country will be passionately proud of their Scottish identity, won't they? And they'll be passionately proud of their Welsh and their Northern Irish, and yes, their English identity. And that will be a great thing. And we all understand it and support it. But we will all also be citizens of a proud, strong, and whole United Kingdom. More united than ever. Flying that red, white, and blue Union flag that represents the best of our values, from democracy to the rule of law, from free trade to free speech, to the freedom to love whomsoever you choose, from championing 12 years of quality education for every girl in the world, to protecting the planet's wildlife from the tragedy of habitat loss and extinction. A Britain in 10 years' time that is building on the success of the Glasgow COP26 climate summit, leading the world in tackling climate change, not because we hate capitalism and want to destroy it, as John McDonnell has said he wants to do, not because we want to make an enemy of enterprise, but because the private sector makes the brilliant technical breakthroughs that enable us to cut CO2 and to pay for great public services and create high-skilled jobs. And so that is the vision that we are offering, to make this country the greatest place to live, to breathe, to be, to raise kids, to start a business, the greatest place on earth. And I propose, folks, that we get on with it now, don't you? Yeah. I don't want to waste 2020 in 2 more referendums. I want it to be an exciting and productive year, a year of growth and prosperity. Do you want to wake up on Friday the 13th of December and find a nightmare on Downing Street, a Corbyn-Sturgeon coalition of chaos? Let's go carbon neutral by 2050 and Corbyn neutral by Christmas, and let's protect our magnificent. Let's protect our magnificent union. Our magnificent union from the depredations of Nicola Sturgeon and Salmon and all the other piscine representatives of the SNP, and support sensible, moderate, one nation Scottish conservatism. Thank you all very much for coming along this morning, and thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Right, we're going to do. Thank you all very, very much. We are the party of the union. We're going to fight for it, and we're going to make sure we succeed. But I'm going to go quickly to some media questions, and we've got Brian Taylor from the BBC.
Prime Minister, over here.
There you are, Brian.
He's
sorry.
Behind you, yeah. Welcome back to Scotland. Or maybe I should say bienvenue en Écosse, given the you just welcome back to Scotland, where, let me remind you, people voted to remain in the European Union. Nicola Sturgeon reckons your policies, including that Brexit policy, are catastrophic for Scotland. She doesn't seem to be a particularly huge personal fan of Jermey Corbyn, but she seems to have nurtured an intense loathing for you and your policies. Is it mutual at all?
Oh well, Brian. Look, I'm not by nature one of those people who bears any resentments against anybody else, and I believe, and indeed, I think our politics has become a bit divisive at the moment, and I think we all need to come together. I think one thing that will take a lot of the acrimony away is getting Brexit done and allowing everybody to move forward. I think what people who have very strong pro-European convictions need is for us to get this thing done and then allow us to build our wonderful new deep and special partnership with the EU. And that's going to be a great thing. But we're stuck at the moment in this endless dither, delay, deadlock, division, defeatism, despair, doubt, and so on. It's a waste of spirit and expense of shame. We need to get on. And I'm afraid all that Nicola and Jermey Corbyn would do together is waste 2020, and I think particularly the EU referendum would be very divisive. And we had a referendum in Scotland, didn't we, in 2014? And I think that Nicola Sturgeon told the people of Scotland at the time that it was a once-in-a-generation event. Did she not? I think she should stick to that line. It was a good one. That's my advice. Ewan Petrie from STV.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. You've spoken about the cost of holding 2 referendums next year. Can you tell us how that compares to the amount you've already spent on preparing for a no-deal Brexit and the amount that Brexit, your deal, is likely to have in the Scottish economy?
Ewan, I can tell you that the best thing for the Scottish economy and the best way forward for the whole country is to take our deal, get it through the House of Commons as we can, if we're lucky enough to get a working majority, and unleash the potential of the whole of the UK. It is, everybody will tell you, any sector of the economy will tell you, it is the delay, it is the uncertainty that is holding back decision-making, stopping people making investments. There is a tidal wave of investment waiting to come into this country and take us forward once we get Brexit done. So I hope that you will vote for them. Not obviously, I can't urge you to distinguish from the media, but I hope that everybody will vote for us as One Nation Conservatives, as the party that will not only protect the Union, but the party that will get Brexit done and move us forward. So I'm going to go to Tom Gordon of the Herald.
Prime Minister, a very simple question. Just how much of Brexit will be done by the end of January?
We will have done, we will be out. But if we get the working majority that I hope we get, we will be able from the 31st of January to take back control of our laws, our money, our borders. We'll be able to begin doing free trade deals. And yes, we've got a tight timetable to get the new deal with the EU done by the end of 2020. But people said I couldn't change the withdrawal agreement in 3 months. And we changed it radically, enabling this country to take advantage of all the benefits of Brexit. So come with us. We get it done by January the 31st. We are out, and we have a glorious future ahead. We'll go to Paul Mallock from the Courier.
And you've come to North Queensferry, which is the Courier's Patch. Could you promise any more?
Which is what?
The Courier's Patch, the paper that I work for.
Oh, yes, sorry, forgive me, sorry. Yes.
Could you promise any more trade deals if you're elected in December, similar to the Tay-Cities deal and the other cities deal that have already been announced?
City deals, sorry.
City deals, sorry, yeah.
Well, as I said, we'll have a sector deal for the oil and gas industry rather than clobbering a very important sector for Scotland. We'll help the oil and gas industry to change and to take advantage of carbon neutral technology. And there's a huge opportunity to do that with carbon capture and lots of other technologies. So we'll be doing that. We will also be, as I said, we'll be putting 3.1 billion more into Scotland as a direct result of this manifesto under Barnett consequentials. As for more city deals, which I think what you were asking, I think we're doing. I'm looking at the Secretary of State for Scotland, where there's the Falkirk and the Islands.
That's it. Everything else.
Falkirk and the Islands we're doing, and what's the other one?
We've just agreed Argyll Butte, the numbers.
We've just agreed Argyll Butte.
That's the whole nation covered.
According to the Secretary of State for Scotland, I have no reason to challenge what he says. We've done the Falkirk and the Islands, and the whole of Scotland is now covered. Severin Carroll from The Guardian.
Good morning, Prime Minister. A recent opinion poll for the Sunday Times, our panel base, says that your reputation in Scotland is only slightly better than that of Jeremy Corbyn, that your personal popularity is minus 34. How do you think you're going to be able to persuade...
Minus 34, we can build on that. We can build on that. That's what I say. Thank you. Christine Lavelle from the Scottish Sun. Christine Lavelle from the Scottish Sun. Christine.
You wrote this morning that if Nicola Sturgeon writes you a Section 30 request, you'll return that letter to sender. Does that mean you're just going to ignore her?
Well, of course. Look, I want to repeat what I said earlier on to Brian. You know, I have great respect for all my colleagues in politics. I don't wish to be disrespectful to anyone, but I think that Nicola was onto a very good thing in 2014 when she pointed out to the people of Scotland that the referendum was a once-in-a-generation event. I thought that was a elegantly expressed, and she should stick to that line. Is my view. And quite frankly, I do think that it would be debilitating. And I'm a passionate unionist. I believe in it. I think it's a fantastic thing for our whole country. I think it's a good thing for Scotland, as I've tried to argue this morning. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing. It is one of the great institutions. As somebody who's travelled a lot around the world, I can tell you that the UK is loved and admired for many of its aspects, whether it's armed services or its foreign policy or its defence of human rights or its intelligence and security services or whatever. But in every way in which people listen to and respect the UK, it is because we act as as four together, as the awesome foursome. And because Scotland, England, Wales and Northern Ireland work together in that way, and because we represent that flag, the red, white and blue flag, and people do understand it, it is a brand that is understood around the world. It would be a tragic mistake, in my view, to throw that away, to smash that up. And you can be passionately Scottish. You can be passionately Scottish. You can be a proud, freedom-loving Scot. But it is also possible to be a member and a supporter of the United Kingdom. That is my strong conviction. And I will fight for that. And that is what we are fighting for at this election. Katrine Bussey from PA.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister.
Good afternoon.
I know you talked about the need to get a majority Conservative government so that you can move on with your plans on Brexit. But just for a second, I'd like you to imagine a slightly different outcome on December 13th. If your party is returned as the largest party but without a minority, and you go into talks with other parties, will you rule out holding a second referendum either on Scottish independence or on Brexit? Would that be actually, a red line?
Thank you. Well, I don't normally answer that kind of hypothetical question, but I think in that case, in your case, I'm going to make an exception. I certainly can rule out any such, because I genuinely think any such referendums, I genuinely think they would be bad for our country. And it's not the way forward now. We need to honour democracy. We need to get the economy moving. We've got a fantastic. This is I can't repeat. This is a transformative one nation agenda, and we want to get on with it. Tom Martin from the Express.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. You may be aware of the Chief Rabbi's comments this morning regarding Mr. Corbyn and what he regards as his unfitness for office. I just wondered, how do you believe Nicola Sturgeon should take those comments on board when she's considering propping him up in power?
Well, Tom, I mean, that's a very good question. I do think that's a matter for Nicola. But yeah, I look at all I will say about that. I do think it is a very serious business when the chief rabbi speaks as he does. I've never known anything like it, and clearly it is a failure of leadership on the part of the Labour leader that he has not been able to stamp out this virus in the Labour Party. But I'm afraid it is cognate with a general failure of leadership that we're seeing at the moment, because I just get back to my central point. I do not see how you can propose to take over the running of this country next year when you will not answer the fundamental question that people want to know. What is your direction on Brexit? You cannot be neutral on something like this any more than you can be neutral, frankly, on anti-Semitism. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you.
May I politely ask you a question? You may be the only UK leader who refuses to take part in Channel 4 News, what we think is a world first leaders' debate on the climate emergency.
Right.
Mr. Corbyn will be there. What could be more important on Thursday night than being accountable for your position and what for me is the biggest issue, not just for the UK but for our planet?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for indeed the polite way in which you put that question. I've agreed to do several debates with the leader of the Labour Party, who's the only other candidate who can become Prime Minister at this election. I know that Nicola Sturgeon is standing to be Deputy Prime Minister, but I therefore see no reason to debate with her. But on what we're doing on climate change, be in no doubt that it is absolutely transformative. Who was the government? Which was the government that first set a target of carbon neutral by 2050? It was us, One Nation Conservatives. Which is the government that is putting in place the measures? I doubled funding for tackling climate change around the world. But 11.5 billion we're putting into tackling climate change around the world from our DFID budgets. Huge sums over the next 5 years that we will use to tackle climate change and the consequences for humanity. There's never been a government like it in dealing with the pressures that our planet faces. And look at what we're doing as a country in reducing our CO2. And we can do it. This is the key point I would make. We can do it as one nation Conservatives without destroying the economic base of our country. And I would remind you, it may seem a long time ago now, but I used to run London. And at a time when the population of London grew dramatically and GDP of London grew dramatically, we nonetheless cut CO2 by 14%. And this government has cut CO2 by 20%. We will continue to cut CO2, but we will do it through championing technological breakthroughs, through a wonderful green revolution, through retrofitting millions of homes, which is what we are doing, getting rid of old, of polluting boilers, having much more fuel-efficient cars, and we can do that as a one-nation Conservative government. What we won't do is take a sledgehammer to the economy, which is what Corbyn and McDonnell would do, and thereby make it impossible for us to attain our climate change targets. So let's go, as I say, let's go carbon neutral by 2050, Corbyn neutral by Christmas. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.